right, 1 Kings 15, let's call this when your dad did well, but what about you? Because we are going to see once again the succession in the kings of the northern 10 tribes and the succession in the kings of the southern 2. Understanding that Rehoboam in this chapter, the king over Judah, is going to pass over the reins to his son Abijam, and then Abijam is going to pass it over to Asa. And for the most part, Rehoboam, even though he stumbled quite a bit during his reign, if you look at the description of his reign in the book of 2nd Chronicles, it's really going to say that he did a few things to right the ship before he passed things over to his son Abijam. And so he is going to give Abijam at least something to work with as he takes over, but Abijam's going to have to answer for himself that same question of the variable. What is he going to plug into the X factor of what he is getting from his family? Understanding that a lot of Judah's remaining fortunes go back to David's relationship with God, not so much even Solomon's, and definitely not Rehoboam's. And so Abijam is going to be faced with this dilemma. He has this lingering prosperity, but he is potentially going to be tempted to plug in the wrong variable for the math that can help him explain why it's happening. Why? Because the success goes back to David, as the chapter is going to say again and again, not necessarily to the things that he might have learned from his dad or even his granddad, Solomon. And so as we're going to see, this chapter is not going to say a lot of positive things about Abijam, but once again, if you look at the Chronicles, it's going to say, much like we see with Rehoboam, his father, that he wasn't all bad. And so the tragedy is he's only going to show temporary attention to the counsel that God gave them as to how to effectively manage Judah. But he is going to hand it over to his son, and his son is going to get it. Okay, so Asa is going to go back to some of the old school reforms that God had been trying to get Israel and Judah to go back to for years. And so Asa is going to trade in some of the trends that seem to coincide with Judah's success for the methods that both David and Solomon put to work in actually building Israel's success, hopefully correcting the math that had been done wrong by his 2 previous generations in Rehoboam and Abijam, understanding that even today we can confuse some of the things that we can get away with in a successful or a prosperous period as being the actual cause of the success, as opposed to seeing the reality that those things are things that we just get away with, understanding that the mistakes that we make in a period of prosperity can sometimes seem to be way less significant than they really are. And so if we do not have a sufficient grip on the things that were necessary to build success, we can put it in jeopardy by taking unhealthy and ill-advised risks. And so even though Asa is going to set Israel on a healthy course, over time his endurance is going to be tested, because much like Abijam, 2nd Chronicles is going to give us more insight into his reign, and he is going to trust God through some early adversity, but life isn't going to afford him the luxury of simply having one challenge, and later challenges are going to tempt him to take some quick fixes when, as we mentioned in a previous chapter, he simply needed to dance with who brung him. And instead of cutting a deal with the Syrians who were helping the northern tribes attack him, he needed to go back to God, since God had delivered him against the combined armies of Libya and Ethiopia. But in spite of the mistakes that Asa made later in life, he has still put his son Jehoshaphat in a great position to take over the throne of Judah. Not so much with the northern tribes of Israel, though, because Jeroboam has effectively pointed Israel in a downward path. And so as he passes the reins over to his son Nadab, what might seem to be a normal and straight path for Nadab is actually going to be a collision course with disaster. And the tragedy is that he is simply going to follow in the habits of his dad, which is actually going to lead him and the rest of his family into a collision course with disaster. Which leads us into a closer look at the kings of Israel in chapter 16, where we'll look at the question, I know your dad didn't do so well, but what about you?